Good morning, everyone. Today I have a very special guest. Joe Henry with ACT Auto Staffing works with technicians and all over the United States and world, for that matter, to help one of the greatest concerns I am finding in the industry today. So I thought it would be wonderful to have Joe as a guest and talk about the struggle finding good quality technicians and what we can actively do about that. Good morning, Joe.
Hi there. Hello, everybody, all across the United States and the world.
I will tell you, we're definitely facing huge problems with technicians and how to find and develop good quality techs. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, there's a great, tremendous shortage, and I can start off by just kind of giving a quick, brief overview of why it's happened. Back before the recession, we already had a technician shortage, and then when the recession hit, 1 out of 5 technicians and collision people were turned loose because business went down so far. And as we know, the recession was long-reaching, so business didn't really start coming back until years later. During that period, many technicians' skills got completely rusty, they quit, or they found some other type of work, or that they just decided not to go back into work and collect unemployment in whatever means that they can. Now that business is back, Rob and Mike, we had a shortage before, and now we have even more of a shortage than ever. And what that net result boils down to is that essentially there are no unemployed technicians anymore. The only ones that are out there looking are underemployed, meaning they're working somewhere, but they're not happy where they are. Now, why are they maybe not happy? Could be that, first of all, they've been required to work more days or hours than they want to, or they have and here's the most common reason why people leave, which is that they don't get along with their boss, or maybe perhaps a conflict with another technician there. Business might have slowed down at their shop, or a change of ownership. So there's various things that cause those problems that they are not happy and want to leave. And that's why what we have to do is, even 12 months ago, we used to be able to post ads and we got more responses than a sugar daddy in a strip club. But now, because these technicians are all employed, what happens is they're not responding to ad postings. What you have to do is actually proactively pursue them. And maybe that gives you a quick, brief idea what happened and how we got here. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, in pursuing them, Joe, and right now I'm seeing crazy things that include like $15,000 sign-on bonuses. And one of the things that I find interesting about that is after people work off their bonus, whatever that time period is that it's distributed, a lot of those people aren't sticking. But it's interesting to hear you say that you got 100%, people, the tech employment is down to the unhappy ones. In your experience, how many of those unhappy ones are justified in their discontentment?
The responses that I see, and of course, there's two sides to the story, and I can get into some stories of what they've told us and how it works. I would say, though, that probably 85 to 90% of the discontented technicians have a legitimate reason. And here's the reason why. because so many of the service managers, directors, and/or stores still are running on the basis of having access technicians, and that the old school thoughts of rough and tumble, and everybody's got to comply instantly, and because we don't have the technicians out there, those are the reasons why people are leaving. And still, to this day, we see such things as, a new general manager comes in and he pulls all the upper management in and says, I want you to fire at least one person in your department just so we can show them that they're expendable. And of course, people hear that and then they just sit back and say, I just can't believe that that we're that disposable. There are the other times in which that people are told to work extra hours, held back, given work conditions a lot of times that just do not work in today's environment. And because in the past we had enough technicians, you could do that, and it was either do it my way or the highway. Or as I used to call it when I was a fixed ops director, I used to pull everybody in and say, we work by the ways and means here. You do it my way, and otherwise I get mean. And those types of management systems just don't work anymore.
Right. Well, thankfully you're honest enough to admit that, and to learn from those lack of, let's call it a judgment error. But
and then, as you also know, Rob, there's just very little talent coming in, and the reason is because when younger people look, and they're smart enough now to go on the internet. We talk about, these technicians make $100,000 plus an hour, and we all know that that's an 80-20 deal. That's only 20% of the technicians that make above average, and the rest of 80% make the average. And it's easy for a younger person just to go on and say, what does the average auto technician make? And they can see that an experienced, seasoned technician makes only about $37,000 a year. And that's just not really attractive when they keep hearing about some of these other possible opportunities. And so that just makes it worse as well. One other thing I wanted to make mention, you mentioned, up to $15,000 sign-on. I have dealers that use as much as $30,000 sign-on. So
wow.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And let me just give you a typical parameter of one. Those are dealers where they're not necessarily in big cities. They're in rural areas where there is a lot of the diesel pickup trucks and vans, and there are a lot of agriculture people, there's a lot of mining people, and then there's a lot of oil people. They all have these diesel vehicles, and they've got so much work that they can guarantee these technicians, if they're worth their time at all, that if they work a 5-day work week, they'll turn 60, 70 hours a week each and every week. So they can afford to do that type of stuff. And then, of course, there are other also, dealerships that have vehicles that are in high demand as far as technicians go, and they're using as much as $20,000, $30,000 sign on. Go ahead.
Well, when you look at it from gross profit standpoint, I look at labor growth and tack on parts growth. So for me, I'm seeing going without a tech is a net cost or loss of $15,000 a month just in the gross profit that the technician isn't generating by being short.
Yep, and it doesn't take a loss of $15,000 but 2 months to make up a $30,000 sign-on. And whenever you do the sign-ons, of course, Rob, you never, and I take this from my personal experience because I was a service manager in a dealership here in Florida, and we used to always throw sign-on bonuses up into the mid-Atlantic and Midwestern states, and you never pay it all up front. You start off with a small amount, and then 6 months later you pay them more, and 6 months later, and most of the big sign-ons in the $20,000 and $30,000 sign-on, that's spread over 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
So it's almost like a retention bonus instead of a sign-on bonus.
So that helps them offset the vacation time losses and things of that nature.
That's correct.
That's intriguing. So when you get into what we have sent a lot of our clients to your website, actautostaffing.com, when we get people that get on there and sign up for your advertisement, how in the world do you get so many applications in their email box so quickly?
Because we have understood the market and understand the workforce and the trends. Once again, here's what's probably the most important thing that people need to take from our conversation here today. You have to be proactive these days instead of reactive. And essentially, the database that we have is the largest database of auto, truck, tire, collision, and especially technicians all across the country. They all have full contact information, including names, phone numbers, email addresses, etc. What we advocate and what people are starting to pick up is that they need to go in there, look at those resumes, and proactively contact that person. And when I say proactively contact, that means phone call them as well as email, because some of them respond better by phone than email and vice versa. And what else is happening, because they are passive and not active job seekers, what we recommend is that you try to contact them both ways at least 3 times. Now, a lot of times when I tell people that, I get the fade to black look on their face like, I'm not, reaching out to these people 3 or 4 times. But unfortunately, the people that are doing that are the ones that are getting the responses. If you don't do that, you end up not getting anybody. And, we can all wish we could get a technician. And, occasionally we get our wishes filled, where one just happens to walk in and say, I live up in Chicago and I'm going to move down here, and here's my credentials, and then that's an accidental deal. Or, somebody's friend, a technician's friend, is moving someplace, and you automatically, are the best first right of refusal. However, that doesn't happen very often, and so that's why you have to use your other methods, which is to be proactive.
Now, Joe, I couldn't end the call any better way than to ask your viewpoint on growing your own technicians. I know that so many times I appreciate dealerships when you mention proactive behaviors. We need to start looking into future needs before you need somebody, and developing, in my opinion, your own rookie techs. Bring them in, start the training process, have the patience, and develop or grow your own is the term I use a lot. What are your thoughts on dealerships growing their own technicians just as a standard policy?
Of course, that's a big part. And some of that also is that to look internally to be able to make it attractive to, first of all, keep people, and second, keep younger people and keep them growing, and second of all, to still be attractive to outside people that may not have much technician experience, and then you can grow them. Here's the monumental problem that experienced technicians who have never worked in a dealership figure of why they do not want to work in a dealership. A, because where they are, they're usually a big fish in a small pond, and when they go to a dealership, it's the opposite. And B, they're intimidated because a lot of these people a lot of the technicians in the dealership have been working on the same brands for a long time, and they know a lot more about their particular brands. So what I always advise dealers is that when you're looking for technicians that are not manufacturer specific and you want to bring them in, usually what you have to do is give them some kind of guarantee. And second of all, that when you talk with them, that you sit down with them and find out what their needs are and specifically put together a career path by usually incorporating with them, when you're with us 3 months, Mr. Technician, I want to send you to your first Ford school. And then after 6 months, I want to send you to the next one because I want you to continue to grow your skills, and I want you to continue to get your certifications as well. So between having some type of hourly guarantee as well as a career path, and by the way, studies have shown over and over and over the most important thing to a job seeker is a career path. It's more important than money, believe it or not. But, of course, you've got to have some kind of guarantee, as I'd mentioned before, in order for them to pick up and move. And as far as the younger technicians, unfortunately, this is a question I get all the time. Boy, I don't know about the rest of the country, but these guys that are coming out of these trade schools really have no skills whatsoever. I can't even give them a ticket to start in. You got to watch them like a hawk. So you have to know that that's what's going to happen. That's the type of person that you're getting out of these trade schools. As I put in one of my presentations in what the heck do I have to do to find and retain good technicians, I put in there when it comes to the training, all their trade schools, they're trading dollars for an illusion of a career. Because they just don't really get that much out of it. It's very sad.
All right. Well, Joe, I want to thank you for your time today and tell everybody that Joe Henry is the owner of ACT.com and is someone I consider a friend. And we send a lot of our clients there. That's the first place we send people that are looking for techs. Hope everybody enjoyed the conversation as I did. And Joe, I want to thank you for your time and appreciate you.
All right. Well, thank you much, everybody, and have a great day.
Take care now.
Bye now.
Bye.
Mark your calendars. October 13 and 14, we're going to have our very first advisor training seminar in Cleveland, Ohio. We're going to have 2 days out of your dealership to work with your advisors and maximize their talent, skills, and challenge them to maximize your customer care. It's crazy good. I'll see you there.